This is Golf Talk Canada, celebrating 10 years as Canada's only national golf talk radio and TV program, presented by smartgolfdeals.com. This segment of GTC is brought to you by Woodington Lake Golf Club, proud home of the Mackenzie Tour PGA Tour Canada's Ontario Open. For membership information or to book tee times and special events, visit woodingtonlake.com. Now, here are your hosts, Mark Zecchino and Bob Weeks.
And welcome back to Hour 2, the back nine, as Adam Scully would like to say, here on GTC Radio. And we've got lots to get into here in Hour 2. And it's a touchy subject, really, and no one knows what the right answers are. And we're all trying to navigate ourselves through this COVID-19 world. And I think everyone being cautious and putting safety and health of employees and workers and friends and family and everyone else first and foremost. But things as it relates to the golf world, as we've just heard in Hour 2, if you were listening, that, Adam Hadwin was kind of outlined how he feels on a golf course and that if there's certain protocols in place that he feels very safe. And depending on what province and what state you live in, will you even have a choice? And depending on when the season starts, will you even have the ability to make that choice? And I want to thank our next guest for, first of all, the support here on Golf Talk Canada and the partnership with Golf Ontario, because it's been a fantastic one. And we continue to do great things for junior golf and build golf in the province of Ontario. A friend of mine, a friend of the show, and somebody who I'm sure is just working a ton from home right now and dealing with a lot of communications and messaging. And I'll say that, Mike Kelly, thank you. And also thank you for the communication and the constant flow and updates that you and Golf Ontario have been on top of since this kind of whole thing unfolded. How are you holding up, my friend?
Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm doing just fine. There's a challenge ahead of us, and we're happy to meet that challenge, and there's lots to be positive about, and I really appreciate you guys having me on this morning.
So let's start there. Let's start with just the latest industry communication and the latest communication that has come from Golf Ontario for our listeners that maybe aren't up to date on the last piece that was sent out. As a province, and as we relate to the rest of the country, where are we right now with this current situation?
Yeah, so I'll give you 3 updates. Obviously, first of all, from a government regulation perspective, most of at least those of your listeners in Ontario would know that golf courses are considered non-essential businesses and therefore are closed for business currently for the next 14 days. That being said, superintendents are considered property managers and therefore can take care of the asset, their golf course, and they can do so at the same time practicing proper social distancing. So they can cut the grass and take care of the property during this time. When we look at this from an industry perspective, the stakeholders, all of those associations that look after the sport across the country put out a message earlier this week, an aligned message to support everybody, that's trying to do their part to get past this and be safe. And so that message came from all the NEGA partners earlier this week, and then yesterday, Golf Ontario, made an announcement and sent out a communication, and we made some announcements that it's difficult decisions when you have to postpone events, and I am bullish on our ability to try to reschedule these when it is safe to do so. But we are unfortunately having to postpone our Hall of Fame ceremony, which does happen in early May. One of our most one of the highest engagements, competitions we have on our calendar every year, which is actually our first event of the year, is our Better Ball, which is always hosted at Oakdale, and we're having to postpone that as well. And our Junior Spring Classic, which is our opening junior event of the year at Wooden Sticks and on the May long weekend, and that's being postponed as well. So we also have a couple of match play events with our friends on the southern border in Michigan and in New York. So those senior matches are also postponed. So we made those announcements yesterday. They're difficult decisions, but we got to keep our volunteers and our players safe. And so those decisions were made yesterday and sent out. And, like I said, we're monitoring the situation and looking at some of our championships and qualifiers that happen in late May and into June. So we're monitoring the situation. It's not easy, but I think, what is really heartwarming is to see everybody pulling together, whether it's from an industry perspective, whether it's just here in Ontario with our friends at Golf Canada. We're doing everything we can and just trying to make the right decisions as we go through this.
Mike, the one thing that you've done very well that I thought from the very beginning is you've taken a communication approach to this from the very beginning. And I know you've got a personal opinion somewhere in this. We all do. But boy, would I have to struggle to figure out what that is. So I think that's a good thing. I think you have said, we're going to align ourselves right now with the rest of the country and our government messaging. And you're going to, you're going to keep an open flow of communication. There's a lot of judgment going on right now with choices that people make, and some of them justify. I am not one to say that I'm, never going to judge those people that were lining up at a video game store. I found that just crazy and ridiculous that people would be ignoring the message from our government and from our health and safety people to line up 6 inches apart at a video game store. So this is not that, certainly. But for the one thing you've said is, we're going to keep an open flow of communication and make sure that our golfers and our facilities have as much information as they can possibly have. And that's going to take one more step. You've got an exchange platform coming out. Can you let us know a little bit about that and who's involved in that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, one of the key drivers of our business moving forward is our strategic plan. And although we have a disruption right now, and although we are having to work around this, we are still trying to be partner focused and working with our facilities to, as you said, provide them information and an opportunity to engage with golf course owners, PGA professionals, and whoever it might happen to be, those that are on the front line at the golf courses that serve the game. And so this was our way of continuing that communication and that engagement. And so this platform will share best practices. There'll be conversation threads on any number of topics, but also the ability to share resources and, helpful links related to COVID-19 and trying to find, a hub for people to go to find that. It'll also include industry updates from our partners like the NGCOA, and superintendents and things and, associations like that. So it's just an opportunity to really try to play our part. And Mark, that's what this comes down to. We're just trying to do our part. It's if everybody does that, then we'll get by this sooner rather than later. But, I think what I think is important is that when it is safe to play golf again, I really think golf can play a really important role on the road to recovery. There's so many people who have such a passion for the game, and we put out a nice little communication along with my video yesterday, and it's just there's when it is safe to do so, we can continue our passion for the game, and I think golf will play a role in being part of that recovery, but again, only when it's safe to do so.
All right, Mike. Sorry, I thought we might have Bob with us there. Bob was with us, and unfortunately, Bob's connection dropped. So I will stay with you here.
Now I'm.
There he is. Bob, you're back. Okay, jump in here with us, Week CB.
My connection's going back and forth, but Mike, first of all, congratulations on everything that you and everybody has been able to do in this situation, because the amount of information that's come out of both Golf Ontario and NGCOA and places, there's lots of resources there for courses looking for what to do. I know one of the most asked questions when you and I were chatting earlier in this week was with the non-essential business stipulation that's put in by the Ontario government was, how do you keep, or are you allowed, and how much are you allowed to keep your golf course, which is your asset, of course, up to at least an operating point where it doesn't just start to look like a hayfield. And I know you went to bat for a lot of people to try and get that get some information on that. And can you kind of update the courses and what they're going to be able to do in this time of downturn?
Yeah, it was certainly an effort that all of us in the industry were trying to get clarification on. And, when the announcements go out, they don't always have the details. There was an 800 number that was eventually provided for facilities to call and try to get clarification on this. But yes, golf courses their superintendents are considered property managers, and so they can maintain the golf course, their assets, as you said. And so long as they're practicing proper social distancing, they can continue maintaining the golf course so that, as you said, the grass doesn't become hay, and then we got another major challenge before the golf course is open again. So golf courses can absolutely do that, and we're happy to get that. We are happy to get that clarification. So golf courses can continue to do that while the rest of us await, the time where we can play golf again.
What's the message for the golf course operator out there right now, the guy who's, maybe trying to make a living, or the private club that's got dues coming in? And there's questions from the operational side of this. And I know that's, Golf Ontario has been trying to do as much as you can. But what do you tell those people who are looking at trying to make a living? I'm sure it's no different than the rest of the country is going through in terms of businesses. But what's the word for them?
Well, my word for them is this is a challenge. I mean, you can look at it one way or the other, right, Bob? And I think the way I like to look at this, and, the facility exchange is one of the ideas that came for that this is a challenge. This is an opportunity because really what other choice do we have? And this is an opportunity to be innovative. And, there's a program that I'm aware of that started in the U.S., but I know the owners are starting to look at this as an option when we can get back to the golf course, and it's the adopting of the park and play program where, they can accept payment online. There's no need to go into the pro shop or the golf club. I think looking at ways to be innovative. I was talking to the owner of Wooden Sticks, where our office is, and they're coming up with new ways of being able to make sure they're keeping their staff and employees safe, as well as the golfers, but still having a meaningful and fun experience at the golf course. So my word is to let's find best practices. Let's look at being, innovative and strengthening the game so that we're far stronger when we get through this. And there'll be more ideas like this, but I think it's a challenge. In my opinion, and I like to look at it as such because, it is a serious situation. And everybody needs to do their part. But I think as a golf business, I think the marketplace can be an opportunity for new ideas and ways to when ready to go. That there will be health protocols that will still be in place. Social distancing will likely still in place. So ideas like that I think might work.
Mike, we're a little up against the clock here. Would you be willing to stay one more segment with Bob and I? Because I think this is important, and there's some things we were unable to touch on. Can you go one more segment with us this morning?
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, great. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with a little bit, pick that up on the other side, because we did get a poll result from our listeners on how they feel about to Mike's point about what happens when we come out the other side, because we're not going to come out all of a sudden and it's going to be high fives, hugs, and kisses. We're going to come out the other side into a gray area with protocol in place. We also want to touch base with Mike about the Ontario Open, its position on PGA Tour Canada Mackenzie Tour. Can-Am matches were postponed. Can-Am Cup was postponed. So lots to get to with Mike Kelly, Executive Director of Golf Ontario. We're going to pick it up on the other side. This is Golf Talk Canada.
This segment of GTC, presented by SmartGolfDeals.com, was brought to you by Woodington Lake Golf Club, proud home of the Mackenzie Tour PGA Tour Canada's Ontario Open. For membership information or to book tee times and special events, visit WoodingtonLake.com.